right, man. Peace. How's everybody doing, man? They have a curfew here where we at in Columbus.
Yeah, I heard they do too. Where we at in Dayton, and then Chicago. I heard they've been going. It's been, to me. I don't look at it that way.
Islam.
Islam. Yeah, what were you saying, brother?
I'm looking at it more as all of us, you know what I'm saying? All of us, we be safe, we smart, you know what I'm saying? All is mine. So we keep everything going where we need to go. Even though everything is across the whole country is going down, even across other countries, they are actually angry at the situations of what the people be on. So, I mean, it's not like a bad thing. You know, we look at everything as an alchemist, and we are Moors. So it may be, you know, opportunity for time. Islam.
Now you right in this act. I mean, we know as Moorish Americans, we're light bearers, so we have to look at things to see, you know, the bigger picture. And we've already been prepared. We know these are the end times, so none of this stuff should be surprising to us. We already know, you know, it's going to be hectic, up and down, rumors of war all the time, you know, all of these things. We were just speaking last time from Matthew chapter 24 in the Bible. I mean, we know, we see these things. So it's going to be like this. And, you know, like you were saying, it's not all bad. You know, there's a cleansing going on. The whole planet's cleansing, right?
Islam. I totally agree. I was gonna say, me and Shaw Bay, we had went downtown Dayton yesterday, and we was in the protest, but our intent was to show up and, you know, raise awareness to the Moors being in Dayton or whatever, and we had the flyers from the census, and then we was walking with or the demonstration or whatever, but you know, we was handing out flyers at the same time, and then you're striking people interest and stuff like that, especially the first wave of protests kind of failed or whatever, but the people that was leading it wasn't good leaders. And it just looked at all bad, but it was just funny because I got to see a lot of people in Dayton do know about the Moors or whatever, so we was able to, you know, get the message out a little bit. And the funny thing, we walked past the sheriff, and the sheriff knew exactly who we were, so that was a blessing. Just get out there and see, experiment, and it wasn't like major destruction down here, but it was a bunch of aimless, just a bunch of walking and marching for no reason, like no guidance. You feel what I'm saying? But it was cool to see. It was cool to see that, you know, it was cool to see the scene on how people operate. So Islam.
Yeah, Islam, and you gotta understand, you know, they were trying to cause a race war to wind up shooting themselves in the foot. I mean, it looks like in all actuality, it's against citizens and government and police. And it's been going on for what 80, 90 years. I mean, since the police been around. So ain't no structure change. It's just that you know that it's the end of their thing. You know, like everything has its end. Everything has its beginning and its end. Everything has its cycle. And I look at it like the good thing is the cycle. When everybody talk about the end, and what you mean the end of the world, it's the end of the world meaning how you used to look at things. That's the end. And that's a great thing for Moors when we look at the end, because look at when we step into the plate, and then what Drew Ali told us, get ready. And that's the end, and the end is great. Islam.
Islam. You know, I'm with you on that. The end times definitely not the end for us. It's a transition. This is a great time, man. We definitely need a cleansing. I mean, I don't know about the rest of the people on here, but I'm definitely not satisfied with how things are. I'm ready for this stuff to be cleansed, you know, for change, you know, for the better. So, I mean, I'm welcoming it. I know it, you know, it's not all pleasant and good. You know, some of these things seem, you know, straight up horrible, you know, but that's a part of the process. And as Moors, we have to be able to see that and recognize it, and not get so much caught up in our emotions. Doesn't mean we can't be active and working to, you know, protect ourselves and get what we need, but we have to do everything strategically, you know, because we descend from the creators of civilization. So, you know, we have to move a little differently. All right. And then we also are charged with the task of uplifting fallen humanity. And then fallen humanity, you know, from our perspective, that's going to start with us because we're the creators of civilization and we've fallen from those ways, right? So we have to act the part and do it and then help teach our people, help them get back in that position. All right. And we can't do that if we're, you know, struggling too. So we have to work on ourselves, which is what you always have to do, strengthen us, and then we can help the, you know, the greater community, the larger community. Okay, Islam, to the brother or sister on the iPhone in Maryland. Also, can you please type your name in the chat?
Join the meeting.
Your name and either phone number or email. Okay, and we're gonna be getting started in about 5 minutes. Okay, so before we get started though, I'm just gonna start off just introducing myself, and we just ask that everybody introduces themselves and also shares their location. And in the chat, you can put your phone number or email. All right, we take attendance at all of our meetings. So we just ask that everybody shares their phone or email and speak up, state your name and location. Brother Lloyd Douglas L., chairman of Moslem Mission 30 in Columbus, Ohio, in Central Ohio. We're with the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam.
Cremus Jones Bay, Columbus, Ohio, Mission 30, Islam.
Brother Cole, Dayton, Ohio, Islamism, everybody.
Brother Shaw, Dayton, Ohio, represent Mission 30, Islamism.
Islam, Brother Seymour Bay, Mission 30, Columbus, Ohio.
Islam, Brother Alim Ibn Solomon, Columbus, Ohio.
Brother Brandon Graham Thomas Bay, Maryland, representing Mission 30.
Islam, Jackson Bay, out of Dayton, representing Mission 30, Islam.
Islam, peace and love. This is Sister Drew Douglas L. in Columbus, Ohio, Mission 30.
Sister Malika Williams L., Akron, Ohio, Mission 30.
Stacy Lachey L., Mission 30, Cincinnati, Ohio.
Islam, Tracy Plater Bay, representing Mission 30 from Waldorf, Maryland.
Peace, Ross Davis L., Akron, Ohio, Summit County, Mission 30.
All right, Islam, for the people who just joined, a couple people just came in. We're just going through, basically we take roll at every meeting. Everybody's just getting on the mic and announcing themselves, just your name. Let us know where you're calling from. And also in the chat, please share either your phone number or your email. All right. This is Brother Douglas L., chairman of Mission 30 in Columbus, Ohio. We're with the Moorish Science Temple of America.
Brother Wes, Denver, Colorado.
Brother Hakeem Malik Ali, Dayton, Ohio.
Shaquem Bay, New York Territory.
Islam. And I said your phone number or email, but I probably should have just said your email. Type in your email, even if you share your phone number, because we're gonna send some information out when this is over. So everybody will share their email. We'll send you a couple PDF files, and maybe there's some other questions you'll have. We'll send that stuff to you in email. All right. So then again, for the people who are just coming in, please get on the mic and just share your name and location, and then in the chat, type your email and phone number. All right, peace and love. This is Brother Douglas L., chairman of Mission 30, the Moorish Science Temple of America, Columbus, Ohio. All right, we're about to get started pretty soon. Did we get everybody? Are we missing anyone? I know there's some other people that came in here recently. Just asking that everybody just announces who you are and where you're located, and then share your phone number or email in the chat. If you just got in here, if this is your first time on Zoom, if you're on the app, you can tap the screen, and that'll bring up if you can hear me, you tap the screen, and that'll bring up the option to turn on your mic and control like the audio. As I see a couple people looks like their mics aren't on. You have to tap the screen and then mess around with the settings. Okay, so we'll wait on those people to get it. You should see like some buttons or something come up when you touch the screen. And did the person in the 919 area code, can somebody did on the phone, did you already state your name and location?
Yeah, Wes, Denver, Colorado.
Okay, gotcha.
Hey. Hello, I'm Kanisha, Washington, D.C.
Okay, D.C. All right, thanks for calling in. Peace and love. Make sure you share, if you haven't already, share your email also in the chat.
This is Christian Jocelyn from Long Beach, California.
Islam. Okay, yeah, really quickly before we get started. All right. Looks like, okay, somebody got put out. Okay, good. Okay, so Brother Jackson Bay, does it look like we have everybody?
Islam, yeah, the normal players and playettes, nah. Yeah, the normal players here. Glad to see everybody else, a lot of new faces, so I think we get this on rolling. Yeah, and Bria's here, yeah.
Okay, so everybody got a chance to announce themselves?
I believe so. We got to make that video. Yeah, and like when we first come to Mission 30 Zoom meeting.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so yeah, we're about to get started. Hang on one second. Okay. All right, so yeah, we're gonna go ahead and open up. All meetings are to be opened and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Everyone please rise and face the east. Okay, before we get started, really quickly, we have one more person. Looks like their mic isn't on. It says Jazz guest. Gonna need you to type in the chat and say something, your name, location. If you're having trouble, maybe first time on here, if you're having trouble getting the mic on, gonna need to know something before we continue. All right, I'm gonna put you in the waiting room. Maybe you can figure out your setup, and we're gonna go ahead and get started. So, okay, yeah, everyone, please rise and face the east for the Moorish American prayer. Okay, if this is your first time doing this, we stand up straight, put our feet on the square, like your feet are at a 45-degree angle, heels together like in a V shape. Stand up straight, your arms perpendicular, hold 2 fingers up on the right and hold up 5 on the left. Face the east and repeat after me. Allah.
Allah.
Father of the universe. Father of love. Truth. Peace. Freedom. And justice. Allah is my protector. My guide. And my salvation. By night and by day. Through his holy prophet. Drew Ali. Amen. All right, okay. I'm glad all you Moors are here today. We want to announce that the meeting is now officially open. First, we always rise and give the highest praise to the Most High, the Father of the universe, Allah. We give honors to our divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali, for bringing us our divine creed and nationality so that we may learn to love instead of hate. Okay, we also give honors to the forerunner to the prophet, Marcus Mosiah Garvey. We give honors to all the 8 sheiks and all the faithful Moors that make up the grand body of the Moorish divine and national movement. Honors to the first appointed Supreme Grand Sheikh by the Prophet, Brother E. Millie Ill. Honors to our brother, the current Supreme Grand Sheikh, Brother K. Dandridgel, and honors to the Grand Council of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Also honors to all those bays in attendance. Islamism. Brother Jackson Bey, please read the Divine Constitution, bylaws.
Islam, I rise giving perfect praise to Allah and honors to the Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, and honors to all the Muslims. Salvation, Allah, unity, the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and bylaws. Act 1. The Grand Sheikh and the Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce law with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Assistant Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest, because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. This organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Jew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Jew Ali, through the guidance of his father God Allah. Noble Jew Ali, founder. Moorish American prayer, Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Jew Ali. Amen. The Moorish Science Temple of America, Home Office of Noble Jew Ali, Home Office, Chicago, Illinois, USA. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Happy Sunday, Muslims.
Islamism. All right. Thank you, Brother Jackson Bay. Thank you. We have somebody that just recently joined, Knowles. It says Knowles iPhone. Could you please state your name and location for us?
Yes, how's it going? My name's Parrish, and my location is Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay, Islam, thanks for calling in. Could you
Peace.
Thanks. Please share your phone number and email in the chat. When we're done, we're gonna also send everybody that shared the information some more information, like some PDF files. All right. So
okay, sounds good.
Thank you. All right, Islam. Okay, so yeah, I want to thank all you Moors for attending. We're just gonna go through some lessons. Some of the lessons that we have are actually laws that were given to us by a divine prophet who was prepared by Allah, an end-time prophet, to prepare us for our salvation in the times that we're in right now. And so the lessons that we have are actually laws, okay? They're ecclesiastical laws that were handed down to us, and that's why we review this, to make sure that we're all up on it, that we understand it inside and out. Because if we don't understand it, we can't work this to our benefit. And this is truly the salvation, the only salvation that we have. What you see on the screen, we're about to read from the Koran questionnaire. There's 101 questions in here. Well, you see that this is a drawing of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali carrying an unconscious woman. It says humanity on her. He's got the fez on his head. When you see that, this image is ancient, and it's actually been found in this area of the brother. Okay, brother, who thank you for sending me that information. Could you send that to Brother Jackson Bay? He's also on here as a co-host. I'd appreciate it if you could just copy and paste that and just send it to Brother Jackson Bay. That's our secretary for the temple.
Will do.
Thank you. Okay, so let me pull this up one more time. This image that you're seeing right here on the screen, this has actually been found here in the ancient culture of the indigenous people, in particular in Belize and Mexico, right? That image of an indigenous American uplifting a woman, lifted, you know, and with one foot on solid ground and then the other foot like in the sea or in water. This has been found here. I remember we were just at a Mexican restaurant like last year, and we looked up and saw that on the wall, right? But that's like throughout Aztec culture, okay? If I could pull up a picture of that for you, I will. But also the headdress as well, right? With the fez, the red fez. There's an excerpt from this book called Queen Mu and the Egyptian Sphinx. And in that book, there's a passage where they're talking about the nobility of ancient Peru, right? And they're talking about how the noble class wore this thing that they called a yantu, right? And they described it as this large crimson headdress that has a tassel, okay? And so they're talking about a fez. It doesn't matter what they're calling it, right? Not knocking their culture, that's what they called it, but it's a fez. And this wasn't just what everyone wore, this is what the noble class wore. And then what you're seeing here, these are from Easter Island. I've seen these Easter Island heads, you know, like all my life. They always showed them, but I never saw them wearing this. Didn't know that they were wearing a large, you know, red headdress, you know, that they actually, you know, when they carved these out of rock or volcanic rock, they made sure that they had red, you know, to specify their headdress, okay, and to show this. And this is for like the Easter Island, which is in the Pacific. It's off the coast of, I think, of Chile, right, in South America, okay? And so like the people in the islands out there in the Pacific, they're all Asiatics. When I say Asiatics, I'm talking about us, our people. Why would I describe our people as Asiatics? This is the divine wisdom that Prophet Noble Drew Ali returned to us. He let us know that our people are Asiatics. We're not Negroes. At that time in the 1900s, they were calling us Negroes. We're not Negroes. We're not Black. We're not colored. We're not African American. They always have to change our name every 20 years or so. But we're Asiatics, and Asia is actually an ancient name for this entire realm. You're looking up here, you see it says Asia. Asia from the Kabbalah perspective, there are 4 worlds. Asia's the last of the 4 spiritual worlds of the Kabbalah. Asia was the realm of the manifest. The manifest is the physical world where we're at right now, okay? Earth is Asia. You see these definitions, these are from Wikipedia. Earth, the objective world. The objective means the outer world out here, the physical realm, where we live with our bodies in the physical world of action. That's Asia. So when the prophet returned this to us, a brother from amongst us here in America, North Carolina, coming with this ancient wisdom and bringing it to us of all people, right? He wasn't bringing this to, you know, the Queen of England or, you know, he brought it to the lowly so-called Negro who was suffering, you know, in the Jim Crow era, right? He brought it to us and returned this divine name, this of our people, right? So we're Asiatics because we're the first to walk in the what? The physical world. So by saying that you're Asiatics, you're acknowledging that you're the original people, okay? Where creation is actualized. We're the first to walk in this, so we're Asiatics, okay? So everything the prophet returned to us is divine. Right? These weren't just thoughts and things he was just throwing out there, just testing things out. This is divine wisdom from the creator of the universe. Returned to us to help us correct the situation that we're in. And that's why it truly is the only way out. All right. I couldn't find that picture on my computer with the Mexican or Aztec, ancient Aztecs holding a woman, but it's the same image that's on this this Koran questionnaire that we're gonna read from really quickly, but I'm just going over this really quickly. I mean, we always keep the prophet out front. Only reason I'm mentioning this is for, you know, because we have some new people in here. I just want you to know this is nothing to play around with. This is very serious. And this is the only thing that connects us back to those ancient people. the creators of civilization. Okay. And so just looking at this cover, we're going to do questions 1 through 20 today. But just looking at this cover, okay, you see the prophet, looks like he's wearing a robe, carrying a woman, unconscious, says humanity. The waters, it says the cares of the world, and he's stepping onto the solid rock of foundation, okay? And before we really get into this, just looking at this cover, right? And what does that mean? Like the fez that was on his head, we talked about that just briefly, just showing how even the indigenous people over here were wearing the fez, right? This didn't just come from one region or a certain time. You know, people might say that's the Turkish fez, or no, it predates all of that, right? The ancient nobility of Peru were wearing it, right? They're even wearing it in Easter Island. Okay, really quickly, and I'm gonna pause right there really quickly for the people who just joined. I'm gonna need you to share your name, your location, and your email and phone number in the chat. All right, and if you're not able to do that, we're gonna have to kick you out the room. You can say it out loud, but I'll need you to share your phone number and email in the chat.
Hey, my name is Nish Smith from Miami. My email is imagodneisish@gmail.com.
Can you type that email in the chat and just share it in the chat?
Okay, no problem.
I appreciate you. Thanks. Okay, and I think 1 or 2 other people also joined. So please also share that information, your name, location, email, and phone number in the chat. All right. We take roll at every meeting. So just going back to where I was leaving off, we're looking at the cover of the Koran questionnaire, and the fez is ancient. Okay, and that's really why I was showing you the Easter Island head, just showing you that this was occurring in the Pacific. You also had it in Peru. You had it throughout the Americas, all right, as well as over in different places in Africa and in the East, okay? But this is a universal crown of wisdom. So it's universal, meaning it's not even just limited to this earth. That's why you'll see it all over the earth, okay? And so anyone who's trying to limit it to one region, they're coming with, with a just a portion of history. They don't really know how far this goes, right? Because if it was just limited to that one region, it wouldn't make sense for the noble class in Peru to be wearing a fez as well. And, it doesn't matter if they're calling it a yantu, that's a fez. And for the brothers and sisters in the Easter Island, they're gods. These people that they made out of stone, these weren't just regular people. These were gods, these were rulers, and they're wearing the fez. All right, so this is a universal crown of wisdom, and the prophet is returning it to our head. And this is our national headdress for the Moorish American man. And then also, we also wear the turban. So the turban and the fez is the national headdress. All right, and for the fez, that symbolizes that we are in tune with the consciousness of Allah and man. All right, the creator of the universe. It represents the union of religion and peace, the coming together of earthly and divine knowledge. And that tassel, that's symbolic of the plumb line, all right, which represents upright character. And then the prophet's also wearing a robe, and the robe is symbolizing the regenerated and spiritualized nature that's woven from the threads of his own noble character and virtue. And then he's got the woman that, is limp. She looks like she's unconscious, and she's in the arms of the prophet. All right. And so, like, people just thinking that's a woman, but women represent humanity, right? Without the women, humans don't even come into the earth plane. They don't even come into Asia, right? So you see him uplifting the sister, uplifting humanity, fallen humanity. All right. Also, without uplifting the women, right? Because the women are the first teachers of the children. So it's also giving you steps on how to do this. Okay. And so you know, just in seeing that, I mean, if anyone had any other questions, we'll speak on it, but I'm going to go ahead and get started. Does anyone else, Brother Davis L., do you have your Quran question there?
Please, I do.
This is
All right. All right. Let's see. Is it loud over there? If so, it's all right. We'll just.
I'm from this child.
Yeah, but he just left. But yeah, they're leaving.
Okay. All right. You think you can read questions keys 1 through 20?
That's fine. I can do that.
Okay.
Right, peace. I guess I'll start with the beginning then, huh? Maybe not, because we did the prayer a couple times. But Quran questions for Moorish children. 1, who made you? Allah. 2, who is Allah? Allah is the Father of the universe. 3, can we see him? No. 4, where is the nearest place we can meet him? In the heart. 5, who is Noble Drew Ali? He is Allah's prophet. 6, what is a prophet? A prophet is a thought of Allah manifested in flesh. 7, what is the duty of a prophet? To save nations from the wrath of Allah. 8, who is the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America? Noble Drew Ali. 9, what year was the Moorish Science Temple of America founded? 1913 AD. 10, where? Newark, New Jersey. 11, where was Noble Drew Ali born? In the state of California, 1886. Excuse me, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know where I got that. In the state of North Carolina. What is his nationality? Moorish American. 13, what is your nationality? Moorish American. 14, why are we Moorish Americans? Because we are descendants of Moroccans and born in America. 15, for what purpose was the Moorish Science Temple of America founded? For the uplifting of fallen humanity. 16, how did the prophet begin to uplift the Moorish Americans? By teaching them to be themselves. 17, what is our religion? Islamism. 18, is that a new or is that an old time religion? Old time religion. 19, what kind of flag is the Moorish? It is a red flag with a 5-pointed green star in the center. 20, what do the 5 points represent? Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
All right, Islam. Thank you, Brother Davis L. Okay, really quickly, I'm going to go back through questions 1 through 20, and we're just going to go over them fast. And I mean, you may have some questions about them. I don't know, but we're just going to go over it. So the first question is, who made you? And the answer is Allah. The prophet is reconnecting us to our divine creed and nationality, to know that Allah, you know, is the creator of mankind, that throws away, you know, Darwin's theory of evolution. You have to know that the Europeans were trying to make a case for the so-called Negro being a missing link, that we're somehow disconnected from the family of humans. I know this stuff sounds insane and crazy now, but they were trying to put this on us. They, you know, have all types of distortions of religion placed on us, the Hamitic curse, you know, that we were cursed to be black. All of these different things were placed on us, and he's returning us to Islam. And by returning us to Islam and our creator being Allah, okay, he's connecting us to our divine heritage. And in the Quran, like in Surah 2, Ayah 30, it says specifically in there that Allah created us to be his vice regent on earth, And I always say that because, you know, I think that's extremely important to understand that you are a vice regent of Allah, and to know what the definition of vice regent is. It says that the vice regent is a ruler on behalf of a sovereign, or a person regarded as an earthly representative of God. And then it also says, especially the Pope, okay? And so from a Christian perspective, you know, you could say that the Pope is the only vice regent of God on earth, okay? And something that we also talk about a lot here is that the Pope recently vacated his title as Vicar of Christ, right? Just in April, okay? So this happened very recently. Maybe I could pull this up for you really quickly, but just recently, okay, the Pope vacated this title. And that could go over a lot of people's heads, but as Moorish Americans, you know, that can't go over our head because we know who we are, all right? And knowing who we are, when we see that the Pope Francis drops the title of Vicar of Christ, right? And which actually upset a lot of the different bishops and people in power within the Vatican, right? Within the Catholic Church. It upset a lot of them, right? For him to drop that title. And people may look at this and think that this
Join the meeting.
Islam. So people might look at this and think this is just something that's symbolic. And really quickly, I'm gonna pause and just say, for the people who just joined, please on the side in the chat, share your name, location, email, and phone number. I'm sorry. Okay, so looks like the person who just joins on the phone. If you could please share your name and location. Calling from the 225 area code. Okay, so they might be having issues with their audio. In the future though, if someone just joins, Brother Jackson Bay or any other co-hosts, if you could, like, feel free to interrupt me, just like, you know, cut me off and just ask whoever joined to share the information. All right, so calling from the 225 area code, we'll give you a little time, see if you can get your audio together. Please state your name and location, okay? All right, so going back to this, okay, I shared briefly that the Prophet reconnected us to Islam, and in doing that, okay, we realized that in Surah 2, Ayat 30, the creator of the universe, Allah, tells the angels that he's gonna create a vice regent on earth. And he's talking about man, okay? And so we know that he's talking about us, that we're earthly representatives of Allah, the creator here on earth. And then from a Christian perspective, you know, it could be argued that the Pope is the vice regent of God on earth, right? Not just vicar of Christ, he's the vice regent of God. He's the intermediary or intercessory. I get those words confused, but he's like the go-between for man and God, okay? He's the earthly representative. And Pope Francis just dropped this title. You can see this article. This just happened in April of this year, okay? And you could look at it and be like, well, it's just talking about some Vatican yearbook, okay? This is a big deal because he dropped the title. He's no longer even claiming that, all right? Because we are in a certain time, okay? Everything goes in cycles. The age that we are entering into, whether we are ready for this or not, it's time for us to rise. It's time for us to rise. And we can't rise as Black people or as African Americans because that's a label that was created specifically to rule over us. And when you name something, you own it. Who named it? It wasn't us. We didn't create this for ourselves. It was created by Europeans who wanted to rule over us. And that's why we see the situations that we still see today in 2020, which a lot of people are upset about, where you have the killings, you have the brother who they choked him, you know, in the streets, just like killed him, right? And so people are now protesting. And the reasons why we're still going through this is because they named you, they own you, okay? For the brother West B, I'm gonna give you a little time to get your audio together, but we need you to let us know who you are, your name and location. And then also, I think the sister Kanisha, she already said she's in Washington, D.C., and she shared her email with me. If you could, Kanisha, if you could copy, paste that information and send it to Brother Jackson Bay. Thank you. Okay.
I just called in. This is the 225. I go by G, and I'm here in Louisiana.
All right. What's your name?
G.
Just the letter G?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. And you're calling from Louisiana?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thanks for calling in. All right. And also the brother Wes, we just need you to share your information as well. Just you don't have to speak out, but just share that information in the chat.
I already sent it to the chat. Was the first one. Hold on.
Okay. Okay, thanks. Okay, yeah, I'm just asking. I see you got it.
I'll send it again, no problem.
Okay. Okay. Oh yeah, share just you could just share it in, for everyone. Thanks. All right, good. Okay, so we're good to go. So going back to here, it's important that the Prophet reconnected us to Islam. By doing this, okay, we can get back into the consciousness which creates us to our divinity, our excuse me, our divine creed, our nationality, our national descent, our divine nature. All right, this gets us back into that mode, and also gets us ready to be at the head of things. We're actually being prepared to be at the head. Okay, and with this thing, with the Pope dropping that title, it's actually a big deal. Okay, he's just in tune with the times, with the cycle that we're entering into. They're going out, and we're supposed to be coming in. Okay. And so as Moorish scientists, as Moorish Americans, we have to be aware of this and understanding and knowing how this applies to us. But it doesn't mean we can just sit here and everything's cool. We still have to work. Okay. We have to do some work and make this apply to us. We have to live this. But I'm just sharing that because, he's getting us back into this mode, and it's extremely important. All right. So by reconnecting us to Islam, Allah's the father of the universe. All right, Islam. Yeah, that brother Chris already shared his info. All right, he's reconnecting us to our divine nature. All right, so that's extremely important. And then moving on to the next one. Also, it's letting us know that man is a spirit and a part of Allah. Right, man is a thought of Allah. This is all in the beginning, in the very front of the Quran, the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, just to come right out and let you know your connection to the infinite, right? So, extremely important. He came directly to our people, right? Some of who at that time were sharecroppers. I mean, like, he came to the people who somebody else would have said was the lowest of the low. Okay, and then just giving us these keys. None of these things are to be overlooked, but just can we see them? That's number 3. Can we see him? No. Allah cannot be seen with the physical eyes for the simple fact that his being doesn't even meet the conditions of the things that are seen, right? The objective world is limited and it passes away, right? So something that's infinite can't really be confined to that level, right? Okay, so just reconnecting us to this, getting us back into this mind state of understanding, who we truly are. Where's the nearest place we can meet them? In the heart. And then we know our understanding of the heart will be coming from an Eastern perspective. And like from an Eastern perspective, is the heart really like, in your chest where your heart is? Not necessarily, right? The heart is in the mind. And in the mind may not necessarily be in your head, where your brain is. Is the mind limited to the body? Are thoughts limited to the body? No. All right. But he's given us keys as to how, just to reconnect us to an ancient, you could say an ancient Egyptian mindset, right? Of how to meet God, Allah, God, where you can meet, how to connect by going within. For the most part, by going within. And getting us away from the mindset of this, this creator, this God is way out there. And then who is Noble Drew Ali? And the answer is he is Allah's prophet. And this just establishes the truth, right? It can't be approached or reproached. It can't be changed, right? It doesn't even matter what other people believe. We don't even need anyone else to collaborate with this, whatever. We don't need anyone else to co-sign on it. But if you wanted to find different scriptures, like from the Holy Quran of Mecca, they co-sign on that, there's plenty, right? We could go to several different surahs that all tell you that for every people, we send a messenger speaking of their own language. That's actually in Surah 14, verse 4. And it says, we sent not a messenger except to teach in the language of his own people in order to make things clear to them. Okay? And then to finish it up, now Allah leads straying those whom he pleases and guides those whom he pleases. And he is exalted in power, full of wisdom. But it also in 1636, right? Surah 16, verse 36, it says, for we assuredly sent amongst every people a messenger with the command to serve Allah and eschew evil, right? So the prophet is returning this to this, okay? And this is in there. So every people, okay, every ummah, which is a nation, they all get a messenger. And that's also in Surah 10, verse 47. For every ummah, there's a messenger. When their messenger comes, the matter will be judged between them in justice. And we could keep going on. So it's understood that Allah sends to every people a prophet, right? So nobody can really attack that. They may not understand, but you don't have to understand, because as it says in there, Allah is all knowing. It doesn't have to meet your guidelines because it's unlimited. You can't place limits on something that's limitless. What is a prophet? Prophet is a thought of Allah manifested in the flesh. The Hebrew word for prophet literally means one who is inspired by God. All right. And then even more profoundly, a prophet is the love of Allah, a thought of Allah manifested in the flesh. All right. So the nature, the origin of the prophet has nothing to do with the body that it manifests in. The body is limited. The body is finite. It passes away. But the thought of Allah is limitless, right? And ever passes away. Okay. So the duty of a prophet is to save nations from the wrath of Allah. In the times that we're in, what we see occurring, just one of the things, like, to hit on this really quickly, to save nations from the wrath of Allah. There's a lot going on, like, right in our faces, and it's easy to get caught up in it. The protests and things that you see occurring, right? There's so much more going on that meets the eye, and there's so many ways you can get caught up in it if you don't realize, like, there's no justice for Black people, right? There's no justice. We have to step outside of those bounds, come back into what we were, what we always have been, and then operate from there, right? We can't get victory from within those bounds. But I just wanted to share this really quick, because this is a woman who was, like, on walkie-talkies, right? And she overheard some men that, like, she's saying that obviously European dudes talking about, putting bounties on the Black protesters that are out here, right? And these are ways that people can get caught up. It's just like they have people out there who are now is getting put on blast, even in the media, that they have a lot of people who are out there who are, like, agitating and like, setting things on fire and doing stuff, and they're not even protesters. They're not even from the area. Some of them are just, like, straight up Europeans, and they're just coming in causing, drama and mayhem. Why? Because they're trying to push off some type of race war or something. And so I just wanted to share this because this is kind of how you can see, like, like by being a Moorish American and having this connection, knowing who you are, you're removed from this wrath that is occurring, that is very real, that is going down in real time, almost like a purge, right?
So I purchased this walkie-talkie just for fun for my daughter and I. And I have it on right now. And I'm close to Wilshire and Alexandria. And I'm hearing like the worst conversation right now between, I believe it might be 3 men. They're definitely white because they're being extremely racist. And I feel like making a police report because they're talking about shooting, you know, African Americans. And I feel like, I don't know, but here is the radio signal that I'm getting. And $100 a head, everyone you kill.
Okay, so yeah, I'm not gonna play this whole thing, but you know, I just wanted to share that because like there's so many things that are occurring, and it's so easy to get entrapped in it, you know, to get caught up in it, right? And you have to step outside of those bounds and to return to who you truly are in order to escape it. And it may sound like crazy for people to think that it's so simple, you know, your way out of this is so simple. It's so, you know, something so so easy to do is just to, you know, to claim that you're more, right? And so I'm not saying that that's all that we have to do, but it really is that simple, right? We cannot, like, there's only so much we can do as something that's a creation, right? That was created specifically, like the label that we were, you know, boxed into was created specifically to do one thing, to disconnect us from our divine nature, right? And to put us in a state where we could be abused. And so we're still seeing this occur to this day. And so the prophet came to save nations from the wrath of Allah. This is the only way out. We have to return to who we are. Okay? And so then who is the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America? And that's Prophet Noble Drew Ali, right? He conceived this divine idea of the Moorish Science Temple of America. It's not just something where we teach our people who we truly are. We actually have, he actually established a society for us to come into, a nation, right? Some of you may have seen this meme that I created that was up here, right? Just talking about a body politic. And the reason that's up there is because that's the structure of the society that he created. It's a religious society, which is protected, right? Freedom of religion. Nobody can come against this. So part of our religion is teaching our people who we truly are, having this society where we can come in and proclaim our nationality, reconnect ourselves to our divine nature, and then operate out of that, doing whatever we need to do. We need to grow our own food. We need our businesses. We need all of these things. That's all a part of it. It's all included in it. And then it wasn't just like a church, it was an actual society. And he made it that when he, you know, started setting up temples all over the world, right? Because it started to meet the international prerequisites for nationhood. It was a self-sustainable society, had its own economy, right? And he also moved as a head of state. He went to the Pan American Conference in Cuba, right? And he did all of these things that set it up and established it as a society. And then the reason why this is important, okay, is because when this body politic was established, it doesn't expire. There's no expiration date on it. It's just sitting there like almost as a vehicle for us to use, but you have to get in there with the keys and get it going, right? It's not going to drive itself. The people have to come into it and make it move. And it does what we need it to do, right? And then the definition of body politic, there's two of them up here from Bouvier's Law Dictionary, 6th edition, 1856, is letting you know that a body politic is a government corporation or a government or corporations. When applied to the government, this phrase signifies a state, right? The people who compose the body politic, they collectively take the name of a people or a nation, right? And so and then like this other definition of things from Wikipedia down here, and it's just saying basically the same thing. This term is particularly appropriate to a public corporation invested with powers and duties of government. Okay? So it's used to signify like a sovereign power, you know, a state, a nation state that's capable of governing itself. All right? And so, you know, it's legit and it's real. And it's just waiting for us to come in and to move as a unit. And it's really the only way to actually to deal with the situation that it appears that we found ourselves in, right? There's no way really to circumvent it, to go around it. It has to be dealt with, okay? Because at the end of the day, they got our ancestors to go along with these labels that they created specifically to abuse us. And so now we're still dealing with it today. The people, you know, are still, they like regurgitated that Black Lives Matter phrase, like that kind of died down, right? But they're bringing it back up. And so people are still identifying with that, Black. And by being Black, that makes you a victim. That means that you started at slavery. You do not go back before the 1700s. You started slavery. You're a perpetual victim. Society's always against you. You can never get justice. Okay? You know, people actually making shirts that say, I can't breathe, and selling it. Like people who aren't us too, because okay, I understand people that look like us doing it, but people who aren't us are doing it as well and profiting off of it. Like you can profit off of Black suffering. Okay, they have TV shows about it. You know, anybody ever seen The Wire and all this stuff? They have TV shows and movies where, you know, these horrible situations our people are suffering and you know, and it sells and it's dramatic and, you know, and this is where we're at. And so, you know, we have to step out of that because Moors are not victims. Moors are not limited. We're the creators. You know, we're strong. We're the opposite of all of these things that come along with the label that's been placed on us. Okay. And so what year was the Moorish Science Temple of America founded? 1913 AD. He actually started it in New Jersey, and the name was changed to the Moorish Holy Temple of Science in 1926, and then it became the Moorish Science Temple of America as we know today in 1928. And going forward, where was it? It was started in Newark, New Jersey, or Newark, New Jerusalem. And where was Prophet Noble Drew Ali born? In the state of North Carolina in 1886. Remember, shared the surahs. It said that the prophet must come from amongst their people and speaking their language, you know? So their language has to be his language, right? So he comes from amongst us, right? Not only just speaking English, but understanding the slang and the terminology and what we're going through, having, you know, gone through it as well, experienced the suffering, all the things that we're going through. So he understands it, right? And so these are what the prophets have to have gone through to be qualified as a prophet. And then North Carolina had a terrible, terrible past as far as how they dealt with our people. There was a race riot there in this place called Wilmington, one of the worst race riots in history of this country, which is crazy how many race riots they've had. All right, there was one where the Lumbee people, the indigenous people in North Carolina, who were, for the most part, they were us, right? They were either just like straight up so-called Black people or, you know, mixed, what they would call mulattoes. And that's how the Europeans at that time, you know, referred to them, right? And there's a lot of people there that still of Lumbee descent, okay? And the reason I brought that up is because they had one race riot where they fought off the KKK, right? They armed themselves and fought them off. And you can still see those vestiges to this day, right? With the people there. You know, they had a horrible past. So the prophet understood this. He knew what we were going through, and his nationality was Moorish American, right? He reconnected us to our Moorish descent, our ancient descent. And then we're American because we are born in America, right? Estados Unidos Americanos, that's the United States of America. The states are unified collectively as America. Okay, and then of course all of these land masses over here in what they call the West, that's America as well. Okay, and so he came from amongst us, and he, by reconnecting us to our ancient and divine nature, we're Moorish of descent, and then we're American, right? So he created something new by combining it with the ancient past. All right, and we're always, you can't change, you always are what your ancestors were. All right, and so when it says in question 14, why are we Moorish Americans? Because we are born descendants of Moroccans and born in America. If anyone has questions about this, you know, we don't look at Morocco in the restrictive sense. The restrictive sense would just be referring to the modern day nation state of Morocco, which is just a state, a nation in North Africa, right? But even that wouldn't be, you know, accurate enough to describe Morocco even just like 500 years ago, or even more recently than that, right? Because there's Mauritania, there's other areas in Africa that would be considered Moroccan states, Libya, and all these other places. All right, so for the person saying that they can't, okay, good. Okay, thanks. All right, so we're not looking at it in the restrictive sense. Even the people in West Africa, the Igbo, the people Wolof, Yoruba, Ashanti, Fulani, Mandingo, all of these tribes in Northwestern and Southwestern Africa, they were all Moorish, okay? They were all Moroccans. And then that extended over here into the Americas, right? Morocco, of course, they ruled much of the world from Europe for a long time, for 800 years. The place that's called Spain today, that was Al-Andalus. They ruled it for 800 years, right? So Morocco's not like, you know, we're not looking at it in the restrictive sense. And then we know that they were wearing fezzes and turbans over here in the Americas too. All right, pretty much everywhere you had pyramids. There's pyramids all throughout here. There's pyramids where we're at in Ohio, St. Louis, all throughout the Americas. Anywhere you had pyramid building civilizations, you're talking about Moors. Okay, and so we know this. And so, yeah, we're the descendants of Moroccans and born in America. Nobody can say anything about that. We can educate them on it though. So, not trying to sound arrogant, but it's the truth. So going back to 15, for what purpose was the Moorish Science Temple of America founded? And then the answer is for the uplifting of fallen humanity, right? And so like, you know, that's universal, right? And then we work off the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And then our mission is sacred, all right? And so, you know, we have to always keep this in the forefront of our mind. But fallen humanity starts with us, right? Because we descend from the creators of civilization. And if we look at the state of our people, like for the most part, we've fallen from that. So fallen humanity starts, it always starts with self. We have to pick ourselves up, and then our community, our people, right? Not just people who are maybe at the lowest part of society, the people who selling drugs and, you know, committing criminal acts and all that, but all of our people, right? They've fallen from this. So it starts with us, okay? And then, you know, spreads out to the rest of humanity. Okay, so then going to 16, we got 4 left. How did the prophet begin to uplift the Moorish Americans? And then we've already spoken on this, right? Reconnecting us to our ancient and divine heritage. Divine meaning of or from God. Okay, so our nature is divine. All right? Who we truly are is divine. Matter of fact, in the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of Americas, we always want to keep the prophet out front. We're told that our origin is divine. Okay? And I'm actually gonna read from that really quickly. Okay? But we're told that our origin is divine. So he's reconnecting us to that. Why? Because the European created a limited status for us that started at slavery. And that's why we're still seeing this today. And that's why this is the only way out. We're not going to get any success, any prosperity by saying Black Lives Matters, by asking these people to respect us, to love us, to treat us like humans. It's not going to happen. Black people will never get that. It's limited. It was created, in the 1700s. It doesn't go back any further than that. Okay? And it was specifically created to be abused. So he returned us to our divine origin. Okay? And in chapter 45, it says, the fallen sons and daughters of the Asiatic nation of North America. We're a nation. We're not just some stragglers. They just got us from here and there in West Africa and threw us all together. No, they didn't have the capacity to do that then or now. Not saying they didn't bring any POWs, any prisoners of war from West Africa to the Americas, right? But for the most part, you had the internal slave trade. People getting sent from other states, from other islands in the Caribbean, getting switched and sent to other tribes and being taught that as soon as they got on that ship and that manifest, they were marked down as a Negro, as a savage, and given a Christian name. All right. And so this process is being undone. All right. You can't say, I'm a Black Muslim, I'm a Black any of this. No, that process has to be undone. So the fallen sons and daughters of the Asiatic nation of North America need to learn to love instead of hate, and to know their higher self and lower self. So we need to know the earthly part of who we truly are. Remember, we just spoke on Asiatics. So by him reconnecting us to the Asiatic nations of North America, that's reconnecting us to something that nobody would have came and told the lowly Negro. Nobody was trying to come and tell, the so-called Negro that, hey, this whole physical realm was called Asia, right? And y'all the original people. So y'all are Asiatics. They can't tell us. They can't tell us because they don't know. And then the few who do know, most of them have taken oaths where they can't reveal it, period. Why? Because they're not even in the same rooms that we're in, right? In these societies, there's a separation. It's like, it's segregated. So they don't even have the same lessons that you would have if you were in these types of organizations. And then most people that's in those organizations don't know this as well. There's only a few that know this. And they're not telling us. They can't. One of us has to come and return this to us. And so I'm saying this to say, nobody else was coming with this knowledge and information like, hey, this whole planet was called Asia. You're an Asiatic. Asia is the last of the 4 spiritual worlds of the Kabbalah, right? Asia is the whole earth, the objective world where we live with our physical bodies, okay? This is real. This is legit. There's like no fault in what he brought. So yes, everybody in here should be proud to say they're Asiatic, especially after hearing this, because nobody else is teaching this. The only place you're going to get this type of information is here. Like, in the Moorish Science Temple of America. Nobody else knows this. Even with the internet and all this stuff out here, people still saying a bunch of mess that has nothing to do, like this is based off of truth. This is reality. And so, yes, we're the original people. We're Asiatics, okay? And so this isn't even just from a Kabbalah perspective, but this is the name of the objective world. And we're the first to come into this world. We're the creators of civilization. And so he reconnected us to that. And so just really quickly going back to the divine origin of the Asiatic nations. So even just that name, Asiatic, he reconnected us to something divine, right? So from an earthly perspective, he reconnected us to our ancient and divine heritage, right? So that we can pick ourselves up and start to act the part and be the part and call higher capabilities out of ourselves that's in our DNA, that's locked into us, that we're not tapping into, right? They say that humans have 2 strands of DNA and that they have a bunch of junk DNA, right? That scientists don't really know what it's there for, but there's only 2 strands that are being used, all right? And then there's people who are saying that, you know, the ancients had 12 strands of DNA, right? That's the 12 tribes of Egypt, okay? And so the 12 strands, you know, that would be the junk DNA. You know, only 2 of them are lit up. The other 10, you know, are kind of in the dark. Like scientists can't even really access it. They don't know what it's there for. But for us, it's there to come online once we all start to act and be in accordance with who we truly are. Okay? And so we have capabilities that we don't even know about and that we can't activate if we are working from a system that was meant to mentally keep us slaves, where we're subservient, where we're victims, you know, where we're expecting to get abused and have to deal with the worst, right? And trying to create from that state, like, has anyone, like, if you know the power of the mind, if you're trying to create from a state of lack, the things that you create for yourself, they're gonna be what? They're gonna be ghetto. They're gonna be limited, you know? You're not gonna be able to really even actualize and realize your full potential until you're able to even overcome your own lack and limitation. So you have to think beyond where you're at right now. And so the prophet came to return that to us, like the mental keys. And so, and then it says to know their higher and lower self, right? So this is going even beyond this realm, even beyond this earth, right? But from this earthly perspective, to know of your higher and lower self, you know that this white man out there, that's not even your enemy. Nothing can hold you down except for you, okay? And so if we have all this, they call it junk DNA because they can't access it, but it's just there waiting to come online. So once you know your higher self and you begin to dwell in your higher self and work from your higher self, you're pulling out these capacities from amongst you, you know? And that's, you know, that's why we see things every now and then. Like there was one Asiatic boy who was blind like years ago. He was blind and he was able to like use, they said he was using echolocation to find his way around. And like he could ride bikes. He could do all of these things that people who were blind could not do. He would like clap, you know, or make little clicking sounds. And he could tell off of the way that it bounced back to him, the sound waves, where things were. Okay, he was able to do things like he could shoot baskets into the hoop. He could do things that people that can see could do. Okay, and so like, you know, it's something that scientists, they couldn't understand it. They couldn't explain it. But these are things that we have within us, right? Things that we're not even tapping into, that we don't even know are there, okay? But when you dwell in your higher self, when you operate from that, you're starting to call this out. This is how this stuff comes online. This is how we can do things that we don't even think are humanly possible. And that's why I'm saying there's no enemy out there. They can't hold us down. They don't get caught up in all this emotional stuff. They can't hold us down. If enough of us are aware of who we are, hang on one second. Is somebody putting the brother Strickland in the waiting room? Okay. I was just asking, is he already shared his info? So no one can actually truly hold us down, all right? It's impossible. Allah is within us. We're unlimited. So once we call these powers out, these abilities that we have, once we work together as a collective, anything that we perceived as an enemy, you know, as holding us back, it disappears. It's gone, okay? And this is why it says the key of civilization was and is in the hands of the Asiatic nations, okay? If you don't know who we truly are, that sounds crazy because you'll look at, you know, the bad things about us and how we don't have it together and all of these things. You're like, nah, but it's true, okay? It's us. And so that's really, I wanted to share that. I was still reading from the questionnaire, just wrapping that up. But that's how he taught us. That's how he began to uplift us, by teaching us to be ourselves. Being ourselves is the key, right? Returning to this, that's our way out, all right? That's our way to success and prosperity and all of these things that we desire for ourselves and our families, And it's that simple. You know, we don't need any help. We have it. We have it all. All right. And you know, our ancestors created all of this. And then it says also, what is our religion? Islamism. Now, for some people, if anybody has any problems with that or doesn't really know, you know, you're thinking Islam, you know, you're just seeing what's being practiced by Arabs, people from the, you know, East. For us, we're getting back to the universal root. Islam is a simple faith. I'm reading What is Islam from Moorish literature. Is a simple faith. It requires man to recognize his duties towards God, Allah, his creator, and his fellow creatures. It teaches the supreme duty of living at peace with one's surroundings. It's preeminently the religion of peace. The very name Islam means peace. That's the root of Islam, peace. And the goal of man's life, according to Islam, is peace with everything. Peace with Allah and peace with man. Okay, and so Islamism, you know, being at peace with everything, right, and oneness with the universe, we're making that a way of life, right? And that's universal, okay? Nobody can come against that. The Quran, the Holy Book of Islam, tells us the final abode of man is the house of peace, where no vain word or sinful discourse will be heard. The Holy Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, says that the founder of Islam, in the truest sense of the word, is one whose hand, thoughts, and tongue and thoughts do not hurt others. And the object of man's life, according to Islam, is its complete unfoldment. Islam teaches that man is born with unlimited capacities for progress, which is a big deal. Islam does not support the idea that man was born in sin. It teaches that everyone has within them the seed of perfect development, and it rests solely with himself to make or mar his fortune. So, you know, that right there, you know, we had to get out of that yoke. I'm not going to finish this whole thing with that yoke of Christianity, because they teach you right off bat that, you know, original sin, you know, everyone was born in sin. They also have us thinking it, or even if people don't understand this, they're set up, you know, their formula that they're working off of is that the Pope was the vice regent of God, when we know that we all are, okay? So the next question, is that a new or old time religion? It's the old time religion. We're returning to something that is universal, that predates all of that, right? This is not just the people from the Bible, Abraham, Moses, the people from the Quran, you know, all of these people in the Quran too, Moses, David, Solomon, Jesus. It's not just them. This is also what Akhenaten practiced, you know, Imhotep, all right? This is what they were practicing over here, the Mayans, you know, the Olmecs, who predate all of that, right? This is what our people were practicing all over the world, okay? Doesn't matter what they call it. You know, being at peace with the universe. And then our flag, what kind of flag is the Moorish? It's a red flag with a 5-pointed green star. It's something that predates even the modern day nation state of Morocco, okay? And this is something that we can all unify behind, regardless of whether you're so-called African American, Jamaican, Haitian, you know, Brazilian, Trinidadian, Barbados, right? It doesn't matter. Puerto Rican, we're all Moors. All of these people were Moorish, okay? Montezuma, the chief, the king in modern day Mexico, he was referred to as a Moorish chief. The practices, the things they had, the way that he appeared, the Europeans that saw him, they immediately knew they were dealing with Moors, okay? And then what do the 5 points represent? Love, peace, truth, freedom, and justice. These are the 5 highest principles known to man, and these are what we stand on. I'm just going to end on that note. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Does anyone have any questions? Any questions at all about what we're doing here? You know, just any questions in general, I'll go ahead and open the floor. All right, because I see we have some new people. Does everybody have a pretty good understanding as to why we're Moors? Why we feel it's important that we, you know, reconnect to who our ancestors actually were? All right.
Islam,
Islam.
just want to say it's divinely planned by Allah. Allah is, He's shown His proof, how His powers, and it's something to truly, believe in, and it's an opportunity for us to make change.
Islam, brother. Thank you. So one thing, and I don't want to take up too much time. Want to let everybody know the national strategy that we have for doing the census. If you haven't filled out the census yet, the 2020 census, we don't just do things just how you feel or whatever you're seeing online. We move as a unit. We have a national strategy, right? The census has in the past been used to categorize our people. They didn't let people like truly self-identify up until I think 20 years ago. So it was very recent. Excuse me, it's very recent when they actually allow people to just put whatever race or even gender that they wanted to put, and nobody's gonna go behind you and change it. Okay, so in the past, the census has been used to classify us as Negroes, right? Because all of our people weren't going for this, right? You have people who had their tribal ties still, and they were trying to, identify themselves by whatever tribe they're in. And I'm gonna show you something. Just shows that legally how they would have taken their appearance as a reason to classify them as Negro, regardless of what they're saying they are. Okay, even if they're speaking tribal languages and everything, holding all the traditions. This is the Negro Law of South Carolina. This is from 1740. There's several different Negro laws and acts. There's black codes throughout the 1800s, the Jim Crow laws, all of these things which keep black people in this subservient slave status. This is just one. But the reason I'm sharing this is because in section 1, it says, this declares all Negroes and Indians to be slaves. And then in section 2, it says that under this provision, it was uniformly held that color is the main evidence, the prima facie evidence. So color is the main evidence that the party is bearing the color of a Negro. So your complexion is going to be the evidence that you're a Negro, but that same evidence does not follow from the Indian color. So, regardless of how light or dark skinned you were, right? You can't say, well, I'm an Indian. You can't even be like, well, I'm light skinned, because a lot of our people say, oh, I got Indian in my family, and you're talking about somebody having, so-called good hair or whatever, when in reality, we have all hair textures, even over here. But so that's saying that you can even be like, well, I'm light skinned, I'm an Indian, Nah, it doesn't matter what you look like. You light skinned, that means you're a Negro. That's what this is saying. If you even slightly resemble what we define as a Negro, that's what you are. All right. And so in the 1828 definition of Indian, of American, right? And what was going on in that year in 1828 around this time, this was the first Webster's dictionary, right? But the reason I'm sharing this is because at that time, 1828, if you look at what was going on in history, this is when you had our people actually literally fighting the colonial government that was rising up and taking the land, and absorbing it into what, they termed the United States of America, right? So they were at war with them. So you still had Indian tribes at war with the government over land. And so while this is going on, let's look at the 1828 definition of American. All right. And so that's tied into this Negro law, right? And so when you see that, it's saying that American, Native of America, it originally applied to the Aboriginals, the copper color race is found here by the Europeans, but now it applies to Europeans born in America. So even by their own definitions at this time, they knew that the people who were, dark brown skinned, those are the true Americans. Those are the Indians, so-called Indians, right? That's not who they were, but this is the name they defined or used to refer to the indigenous people here, right? But then they're saying, look, that same evidence that would have, let us know that you're Indian, that means that you're a Negro now, no matter what. that's the evidence that's going to be used to define you as a slave, because it declares all Negroes and Indians to be slaves. Okay, and then it goes further on about just Negroes. The term Negroes confined to slave Africans and their descendants. It does not embrace the free inhabitants of Africa, such as the Egyptians, Moors, or the Negro Asiatic, such as the Lascars. Those are the Indian, Hindu, dark-skinned people. And like, you know, these are people who have a heritage. They know who they are. So the term Negro is confined to slave Africans. So they created a status for a slave, and it doesn't matter what you say. You can say that those lives matter, but they don't. You're under them. You need them to be benevolent and to show you justice, right? And the only way out of that is to step back into who you truly are. One of the things advise everyone to do, of course, join the Moorish Science Temple of America. Come into the society that the Prophet created for us, right? And then move as a unit. So we advise everybody to participate in the census and to go ahead and check the box to define yourself. We know that our leadership, the Supreme Grand Sheikh, is prepared these slides and gave this presentation to some of the directors from the census. And, they agreed that this is, something that we should do, right? One of them was a brother from Egypt, I guess you could say Arab American, right? Egyptian. And he was floored by this information. There was a sister too who was she wanted to join just hearing this stuff. But we advise everybody, no matter what, to click the some other race box and type or write in Asiatic Moorish. And then also, if most of us had this history of being indigenous to the Americas, also check the box. It says American Indian, write in Moor. That's within their hierarchical race codes, okay? They have several Indian tribes on there throughout the Americas listed under Moor, under the race code for Moor. All right. So we advise everyone to do this, and then we work together within our society to, step in, represent for this growing body of people. All right. Because that's another thing that our people don't do. Our leadership is weak. They failed us. All right. And they don't, advocate for us, and we don't, move as a collective, as a unit. So there's money that would go to the African Americans in Baltimore or in these different regions, but they're not moving as a unit to get that. And so there's all types of other organizations that go and they get it and they use it for themselves, whatever resources are allocated for them. All right. And so go ahead, brother.
So at what point were these laws dropped? So they never existed. So who wrote these laws?
Okay, so these laws were never dropped. The one that I was just showing is from 1740. That's outdated, that's just outdated. And so it's easy for somebody to say, man, this is outdated. That doesn't apply to anyone anymore. But the problem is, all right, this stuff is hidden now. They can't come outright and make laws they were doing this in the 1800s still. And then in the 1900s, they kind of toned it down, but they were still, they had the Jim Crow laws, which were still defining our people as less than. But the thing is now, they can't come out and say, the Black or African Americans confined to slave Africans. They can't do that. So I'm gonna show you what they do now, okay, and why we know this still applies. It's hidden, it's sneaky, and it goes over everyone's head. But if just one thing is Federal Directive 15, all right, and this isn't just, these are different race classifications. It's not just for the census. This is across the board. Federal Directive 15 defines the different races or ethnicities in the United States, and Black is the only one that is not an original people from somewhere. It's just a racial group, a Black racial group of Africa.
So essentially what you're saying is, as long as people agree to be Black, they will always be slaves.
Yes.
Until they claim their nationality as Moorish Americans.
Islam. Islam.
Because, and I was kind of also wanted to mention, you guys said something earlier about What was he saying? Oh, about the skin complexion. I want to say, what was the article? What PDF was it where it said any copper color individual bearing the skin of a copper color is in fact indigenous? Was that in the article? I'm trying to think. Let me see. I wrote it down.
I just read that it's since the Negro Act.
No, it's not in the Negro Act. It's actually part of the. I want to say, is it a part of the Constitution? The rights of the artificial. Damn, how do I say it? Part of my language. The rights of indigenous people. Isn't that an article?
Okay, so there is there's an international law like the indigenous peoples the indigenous people rights. I think it's like an act, Indigenous People Rights Act. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up so we don't have any confusion.
This is something that was just like brought back up recently with President Obama. Like he actually signed off on it. Basically, one of the things that it says in there is that all people are entitled to have a nationality. So it's against the law to deny a people their nationality, right? And this is something that we're suffering from, but it's something that we probably wouldn't even be able to address unless we step in and define who we are. Then we could seek redress for that. Like, okay, well, this is, an act against humanity.
Okay, I think what you're talking about is the Declaration of Human Rights, Article 15. Everyone has a right to a name and a nationality.
Yeah.
So being the fact that we are, in fact, Moors, and we have claimed that heritage and that nationality, we no longer fall under the titles of Black African American.
Islam, yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
But that's only if you have proclaimed your nationality. You can't just say that you're a Moor, and not actually go through the proper ways that the Prophet set up to do so.
It really doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm not trying to contradict anything or debate about it. It just doesn't make any sense considering that we were in fact Moors from birth. So why would we have to go through
that's not true.
How is that not true?
What? So on your birth certificate, it says that you're a Moor? Your parents were up on this already?
Well, we were never. That's what we call, from what my understanding of what Moors have taught me, well, what I've read and taught myself was the straw man. That birth certificate was just an entity that was never me and never was. That wasn't me because I'm a flesh and blood being. That can't be that fictitious name because, for one, a nom de guerre isn't it a fictitious name, a war name, assumed for a time?
But what happened was your mom signed a birth certificate when you were born, and she undid your natural birthright, Islam. So what happened is, now that we know what happened, we have to proclaim our nationality to get back right, to get our status back to being free, Islam.
Yeah, at the point that we're at now, we're willingly giving it away. Like, there's some truth to that information, but like in reality, like the straw man argument and all that has like really nothing to do with this demo. Okay, because we don't even need that, like, for our salvation. Okay.
Well, I just thought it was in direct
I'm not
relation
knocking
to
it though, but I'm just saying,
Negro.
like, it doesn't have anything to do with this. Now, as far as like being a Moor from birth, okay, these things, like these acts that took place, okay, over time, over the last couple hundreds of years, at some point in time, like real live people took part into it, like willingly, whether they they didn't know what they were getting into. They took part into it. And then they signed their future generations up for this. And that's why we're really suffering in real life. That's how come our people in the early 1900s owned more land than we do now in 2020, which is ridiculous. Like, how do we go backwards in that direction? Because we've been getting deeper and deeper into it. So, like, just to say that, this sounds nice, but in the physical reality, it holds no weight. It's like, no, we're not Moors until we move as a unit, as a collective, within our own government.
So that doesn't make any sense, because the simple fact that that's almost like saying, oh, I'm not a colored being because I don't act like a colored being. That's almost like putting yourself in a box or stereotyping yourself.
Well, we're saying Moorish American Muslim under the organization that was set up by Noble Drew Ali, that is recognized by the governments of the world, is what we're saying. This was established as a body politic to bring us in, to free us individually. We could study this stuff, but one here, one there, it doesn't matter. You are not a nation by yourself. You don't have an organization. You don't have a government. But the way Noble Drew Ali set it up gives us that. Islam.
Islam, and I'm not trying to. I'm gonna let me Camelback, but I'm trying to actually give like my brother some clarity on it. You know, let's debate it if you want to debate it. You can do it on your own if you want to do it on your own, and a lot of Moors do that. But now you got to also understand. Now going through a temple, religion trumps state. So also when you got to look at laws, and that's what Lloyd is talking about, is the laws. And what sister is talking about is the laws. And the laws meaning, guess what? If we don't work as a collective, you can do whatever you want to do, but guess what? You're going to be classified as an outlaw terrorist. And I'm not trying to say anything about it, because I feel what you're feeling. Because in 2013, I was thinking that way too. You can just do it on your own. Because your bloodline is a Moor.
Okay.
That is true. And I yield the field to you, brother.
Islam. So just in alignment with what the brother Kobe just said, like, yeah, you would be a Moor, you know, by your bloodline, but you know, it carries no weight unless you move as a unit with the collective and within the government that was created and that is recognized. All right. The only reason it's not already done is because it's been laying, you know, kind of dormant. The people didn't come in and move as a collective and exercise the powers that we have when we move as a unit, as, you know, an Asiatic Islamic nation state. All right. And then doing the things that we need to do within this government to make sure that it's known, okay, across the board who we are. Like doing things individually, like filing your own proclamations and doing these things just for you, that's doing nothing for the collective. It should be known in our community, you know, or in our city, in our state, who we are and recognized. That hasn't been done. And it would be like, no, we'd be kidding ourselves if we acted like it's been done. It hasn't been done. And then there's people who's teaching this stuff, but they're not actively, you know, doing anything to make this hold weight in the physical world.
So before the Noble Drew Ali actually created this organization that was recognized by the government, I think what the brother is saying, were we not Moors then?
Yeah, before the Prophet created this, okay, our people were just considered at that time Negro. That's it. Nobody did this. There may have been people who knew that they were Moors. You had the case in the 1800s with Abraham Lincoln defending somebody who at this point in time would have been considered African American. The reason we know that is because in the trial, the assertion was being made that his name was William Dungy, that he was a Negro, right? And Abraham Lincoln won the case by saying his client, while it's not a crime to be, you know, Black, he's not Black, he's a Moor, all right? And by being a Moor, he's human, he has rights. You can't just come in and take his property and, you know, this is like a property dispute, okay? And so there were people who knew this, but nobody did anything as a collective, all right? To say, okay, not only do we need to teach our people who they are, we need to set up a society, a nation, to reconnect them, okay, to their divine nature, but also give them a nation, because at this point in time, we were nationless.
Well, so
we've done a lot of things over time to get into this status. Like you had, when the Europeans first came over here, there's over 500 nations. You have several different tribes, and these tribes don't all get along. they have disputes, and they were, you know, sometimes side with the French or side with the Spanish or side with the English against that other tribe. And this stuff all came back to bite them because the Europeans weren't thinking like them. They wanted to take this over. It's just like when they married them or, you know, took some of the women, got them pregnant. They weren't doing it because they loved them. They were doing it to get rights to the land, to usurp it and to take it from them. And then eventually class them as Negroes. And this has been going on for so long that it can't just be undone by one person over here saying, oh, I'm a Moor and I'm gonna just rock with that. And then somebody way over there saying the same thing. Like, that's not how it works. And why would you circumvent the society?
What we were getting to is
as a collective so that we can handle our affairs domestically and internationally.
That makes sense. However, what we was getting to was like, why should like government, like for example, like government in itself, the government truly doesn't really exist unless we give it power. Like government control.
Hang on, brother. That's wrong.
Meaning,
now, listen, you're right. The government is supposed to be of and by the people, but this government is ours. Our ancestors created this government. Like, check this out. Like,
so that's what I'm saying.
You know,
then that would be contradicting to your statement earlier then about us not being naturally being Moors. Why would if my ancestors created something? Why should I have to go through a process to tell somebody and convince somebody that I'm a Moor when I'm in fact I know I'm a Moor?
Yeah, let me cut that because it was a process to get us to this point.
Let me help my brother.
It's the de facto.
I'm just looking for clarity, and I'm not trying to.
The de facto, so it's in fact.
No, those are great questions. Those are great questions.
Yeah,
that's a great question. But you gotta think about it. In 1776, we got stripped out of office of the true republic. You know, and that's when that's 1776 and it's 2020. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm actually gonna go on your side on it with that. But let's get the clarity to like what's the question that you really want to answer? Like what's the question that you really want to answer more?
I think what he's saying is
my question is why should I have to jump through hoops? Because even Noble Drew Ali said himself, even our own weary fezzes and Moors will send us back into slavery. I'm really focused on the conversation. And I've been studying for this a very long time, and I'm just tired of people like having me jump through hoops, trying to get something that I'm already have within me. So what I'm asking is, why should I have to go through a hoop and proclaiming my nationality when in fact I can just toss that, X-rail it, and get away, like basically throw that in the trash can?
Islam.
I feel like I shouldn't have to convince somebody my nature as a man or as a being.
Islam, bro. The whole thing is with the Moorish Science Temple of America, what that is, right? It's also a national divine movement, and the national divine movement is the nation state. You feel me? And the reason you have to come to the temple, right, is because, yeah, you was born Moorish. You feel me? And we understand that, and we'll recognize you that. But if you outside of this ecclesiastical, theosophical, constitutional monarchy, right, and you're not being recognized by us, well, let's take it. Let's just, for example, the Chinese, right? This is a real good example. You know, the Chinese, the people that got Chinatowns in every major state, right, and even various state, right. The only reason why they're considered a Chinese person is because they great country of China recognized them. You feel me? So I can understand because there's a lot of confusion. And like they said, people wearing feathers will put you back into slavery. But see, this is the national divine movement. You feel me? And this is exactly what, you know, Sheikh Douglas L. You know, he's 100% legit. So we're not gonna make you pay a bunch of money, you feel me, just to go file a bunch of paperwork. This ain't that. We ask you the application is $25. The monthly dues, if you're financially able to pay them, is $20 a month, and that's just to be amongst the faithful. Do you understand? So you feel me? Once you play and write down the application and you receive your card, you're a member for life that you'll be recognized. So now you are protected by a nation of your own.
Right.
You feel me? That's
completely,
what that is.
It's completely understood, and it's completely understood. It makes sense. However, like it doesn't make any sense because of the simple fact. What about those people that aren't trying to work? Like me personally, I'm not trying to work. Like I don't have a residual income.
not
For that
trying to
simple
like
fact.
as
For that
as a man, you're not trying to create commerce. Like you got
yeah,
family.
yeah. But I'm saying I'm not trying
What
to
you
work for
mean about
slave
now?
labor.
Yeah, Islam, I feel you on that. Islam. Now, I'm actually on your side, brother. Islam. But my thing is, you gotta also look at it too. Like you're asking the question on if you don't have anybody to back you up, and you're saying who you're saying. Now, if you go in any Bible or anything, look at how they look at John Baptist. Even though how we look at John Baptist is different than everybody else in the world look at John Baptist. You look at any leader. So, like now, if you're standing alone. And we know your bloodline, but you're standing alone. It's kind of, you know what I'm saying? You kind of see what I'm saying, brother? Like, I'm just trying to get, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the prophets, they talk how people talk. So, like, I understand, like, you're trying to answer a question. So, yeah, I'm going to answer your question because your question is right on both angles. On both angles is right. Because on both angles, yes, by bloodline, I am a Moor. But now, if you are more like that, then you got to be vice and know what you know, and then you can maneuver however you want to maneuver. But now, as a more that you know, I got to be studying and studying and studying and study some more. Then you got to also know that, man, you know what I'm saying? I can't do this on my own. It's not I can't do this on my own, but guess what? I need a collective head because laws got passed between 1776 and now. These laws got passed. So since these laws got passed, you gotta contradict the laws that got passed. That's all I'm saying. It's like all you to feel.
So basically, our people was unaccounted for at the beginning of the start of the government or this nation over here. So we have to basically go through some type of paperwork or some type of, institution to get
I
all
thought we
those rights.
created this nation. Like I'm almost certain that we created like all these monumental
They created the
buildings.
nation. They created the nation after us. They patterned it after us, but they didn't give us our credit for that. There was no paperwork. There was nothing. So that's why black is not a nationality, and I think that's what they're trying to say. You have to kind of go through some type of process.
Even in the Treaty of Peace and Friendship.
Hey, brother, let me go ahead and.
My apologies.
Yeah,
I wanted to talk to you individually. My fault.
No, it's fine, but you're
I'll
good
email you.
because these questions that you have, you're probably not the only one that has them, and that's why I want to go ahead and answer them. And it's not a problem, so it's good. What you're saying, like there's no hoops to jump through, and let me say this: there's no hoops to jump through. This is very easy. The Prophet made it extremely easy to come in and get relinked back with your divine heritage. And this is very important for people to understand. Like, if you want to get back in with the Cherokee or with any of these other government federally recognized tribes, you have to go through all these hoops. That's when you have to go through the hoops. You might have to get, genealogical records. You have to get blood tests sometimes. Also that you can get what? Federally approved. But no, we overcome all that. The Prophet relinked us back to this, the entire Americas. And all you have to do is come in and join and be faithful. It's very easy. And the fees are, kept low for that reason. So that it's easy for everyone. So there's really no excuse. There's no hoops. It was made for us to succeed. And that's why he made it easy. And then there's no compulsion in Islam. So even if you're not perfect, even if you're still out here trying to get your life together, you're still doing drugs or something that you shouldn't be doing, no, there's no compulsion. We help you. We want you to get better. But it's not like people's looking down on you and expecting you to already come in perfect. So that, it's easy. And then the fees are low. Like, we're grown-ups. There's no people in here that can't, really afford like 15 or 20 a month. And then even if you can't, you don't have to if you can't financially afford it. There's no compulsion. It's for those who are working, right? And so it was made to be easy. There's no hoops to jump through. So please don't say that, because that's a gross misrepresentation of fact. If you want to get linked in with any of these federally recognized tribes, that's when you have the hoops. And you go through all those hoops, and then they'll just up and say, nah, all these Black Cherokee are kicked out. Why? Because they think they're about to get some kickbacks, some federal funding, and they just erase thousands of so-called Black Cherokee, just like that, freedmen Cherokee, after they jump through all those hoops to get on the rolls. So it's like, nah, he made it easy for us, and we bypassed all that. We are indigenous to the Americas, and we don't have to go to the government and prove it. Why? Because the prophet already did that when he came and met with the president allegedly and demonstrated degrees that went above their heads. They knew who he was. This was legit. And he established the society for us that made it easy for us to come back in. And then to say that, like, yeah, this is our government. Yes, our ancestors created it. You know, the Constitution, all this stuff, you know, based off of the great law of peace, which is the law of Islam, right? The Iroquois Confederacy. We grandfathered them in. You know, we brought them in. We adopted them. We gave them Indian names. And then they flipped it on us. And yes, they removed us from it. And so, yes, you have to go through the process of coming back into your own society. If there's a problem with that, I would say, brother, do it on your own and make it work. We're going to work as a collective, and let's see who gets it done first. It's not a knock and it's not an insult. It's just, let's keep it real. We're building here. We're not here to debate over this stuff and go on and on and on. We're not going to try to do that because that's counterproductive. We're going to move as a collective. We don't just get here and talk. We actually make moves as a collective, set goals, reach them. And then we're doing it within the movement, all right, to make it count. And so, you know, if people want to go on their own, some people are mavericks. They want to go out. They want to do it. Some people don't want to be a part of nothing. That's fine. Go ahead and do it. But, you know, I mean, I'm not going to knock it. I'm not going to say it's not going to work. I'm just saying, like, that's not how we're moving. We're not going to drop the movement because some people want to do it on their own. And no, there's no hoops to jump through. It is very easy. You get to come in, reconnect yourself to your indigenous heritage and all of that. And all you're doing is joining your own society. You're not going and proving this and getting all these records and we don't do any of that. We don't have to. And then anything that we do need to do for our communities to secure the things that we do, it's not all on one person. Why? Because we have a government, because we have an executive, legislative, and judicial government. So it's not all burdened on one person. We're not just making YouTube videos that sound good and people's looking at it and, oh, I'm selling this paperwork and people's doing this, this, and that, and there's no government. They are getting nothing done. I know this. I've been in this for years, probably since like 2004 or 5. So it's been a long time. And now when I finally got into the temple just a couple of years ago, a lot of that stuff, which I can identify with what you're saying, with what you're working with, was on that stuff years ago. And I realized that a lot of that stuff was trash and it's not productive. And the people have been teaching it for 25, 30 years and have nothing to show for it. They don't have one farm growing the food. They don't have any trucking, anything to distribute this food, no warehouses, no grocery stores, no businesses, so they can all kick rocks. They need to make that stuff work on their own. We're here to build a real nation, not to talk and to argue or to debate or to go back and forth. Like, forget all that.
Well, that's not debating. I feel like that's having building a common ground.
Questions, bro. Those are good questions. I'm just saying, like, no, there's no hoops to jump through, man. That's not true. Now, if you want to get down one of the tribes, you're going to have to jump through a whole lot of hoops. And they still might say, oh, you're too black. and you have to get, like, some of them want genealogical records. Some of them want that. And they want a blood test. And a blood test for what? To show that you got some, like, Mongoloid Asian, you know, blood in you. You know what I'm saying? Like, what? What are they testing for? So it's like, forget all that. But we don't have to do that. The prophet created. See, nobody else did that.
So
nobody came in a recognized body politic for us. Nobody created a society. Nobody went all over the world. He's in Canada. He's in Mexico. He's in Cuba. He's moving like a diplomat and making connections, setting up temples in all these places that he's going to, moving as a head of state, busy, getting all this done in just like 3 years. Nobody else did that. So if other people knew that we're Moors or people know that we're Moors after the fact, that's great and wonderful and all, but they didn't establish the society So it's not like, okay, yeah, we're teaching it, but no, we also have a nation. We have a government. Like, we actually have a government. And so, like, it's not like I'm just, I want to do this, I'm just going to do this. Now, we can build and talk with each other and move and make the, best move as a collective. So it's not like you're just out here straggling by yourself, having to figure it all out. Because, like, that's not how anybody moves. Like, the Jews aren't moving like that. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not any Jewish people who just want to do it on their own. They don't trust it. But like, the people as a whole, they're working as a collective. They didn't get Williamsburg in Brooklyn where it's just like for the Jews, where if you roll up in there, they might roll up on you with yarmulkes on and bulletproof vests, their own security force, their own police, and be like, get out of here, nigga. And you ain't, excuse my language, you're not going to be able to do anything about it because they're moving how we're supposed to move. And so all of that other stuff, it's just like fun and games. It's not going to get it done. The people have been on that for years now. Excuse my language, but I'm trying to make a point, but that's the reality of it. Like, they can call you that and they can literally, like, they do that all the time. They discriminate against our people in these neighborhoods. And I'm not even knocking it because that's theirs. They're moving as a collective. Like, yes, if those aren't hoops to jump through though, you have to come into your society so that you can be recognized by the family of nations. It's not hard because you're not doing it by yourself and you're doing it as a collective, but it's necessary. If you're not, then you are subject to all of the abuses that anyone wants to heap upon you, because even though you recognize yourself as a Moor, we're stateless. And this is how come I'm sure there were some people there had to be some people in Louisiana when Hurricane Katrina went down that knew that they were Moors. There were probably some who knew that they were Washita Moors, and it didn't matter. They called our people refugees. The president of the United States called our people refugees. And it wasn't just words. They treated them like that. They herded them in. Man, I was living in Memphis, Tennessee at the time. So, like, a lot of people came into our city from that area. And, like, I know, like, they were hurting. Like, real street dudes were crying. Like, they went through a lot of horrible things. And a lot of our people perished. They were undesirables. And it didn't matter if they knew that they were Moors. We have to have a government. We can't circumvent that, brother. There's no way around that. If anyone wants to circumvent that, that's why I was saying earlier they can kick rocks, because you're trying to circumvent the only salvation we have. Not you, but saying anyone who wants to get around that. No. And I'm sure there were some brothers in Hurricane Katrina who knew that they were Moors, because it was a lot of people in that area who knew that they were Washita Moors. But like, that knowledge is not all that you need. You have to move as a collective in the physical world. We have to move as a nation. That knowledge alone isn't going to save you. Okay? We have to do this as a collective. And if it's tiresome, or, I mean, I don't know what to tell people, but as a collective, it's not all on you. We can work together to make that happen. And it's best to come in and learn what this really means so that it won't be confusing. Because if you're thinking, why do we have to do this? That means, like, just keep learning. You'll know why we have to do this. Because you'll see, like, those protections, they ain't had those protections in Louisiana. They called them refugees. There's no reason on earth the president of America should be coming up and referring to these people as refugees and then treating them like that. Cuba tried to send them aid, tried to send them water and food, medical supplies. They blocked it. Why? Because these are our slaves and we control them. We say they get no aid, and that's what they did. They blocked it. And the people in New Orleans that were suffering, those are our people. They couldn't even speak up for themselves and say, nah, we need that, send that to us. Master P couldn't speak for them and say, nah, send it to them. He's like, man, y'all stop talking bad about the president. Please don't piss him off. That's what he's saying. He literally was saying that. He was mad when Kanye got on TV. Some of y'all are young, you might not even know about this. He was mad when Kanye got on TV saying George Bush doesn't like black people. Because he's like, what are you doing? Because they can't speak for themselves. He speaks for us. Because we don't have our own government. Our Supreme Grand Sheikh is supposed to be able to speak for us. Our government is supposed to be able to speak for us. The president ain't so yeah, knowing that you're more is great and all, but if you don't have a government, who speaks for you? Donald Trump? Who's your governor? You know what I'm saying?
Who's the Grand Sheik? Is it Taj?
Nah, the Supreme Grand Sheik of the Moorish Science Temple of America is brother Keith Dandridgel.
Keith who?
Keith Dandridgel. He was just named Supreme Grand Sheik at convention last year. There was an elder brother named David Bailey L who stepped down. He's actually brother Edward Millie Ill's grandson. Edward Millie Ill was the first appointed Supreme Grand Sheik by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. He actually made him the Supreme Grand Sheik before he died. He was the Supreme Grand Sheik and chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America. And the way that our government runs, that's the executive portion. And then you have the Supreme Grand Council, Council of Seven, tried and true and accepted by you. That's the judicial portion. And then we have Grand Sheiks and chairmen and grand governors, you know, of all the temples in all the different states. And that's the legislative portion. But the problem is you got people who've been studying this stuff for years who don't even know that. And these are civics, because these are the civics of your own nation. How you not gonna know the civics of your own nation? And I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about myself. I have been studying this stuff for well over a decade and didn't even know some of this stuff, most of this stuff, until I actually got into the temple. And that's, you know, sad. You know, they wasn't teaching it in the streets because it's not cool. They weren't teaching it online because it don't sound as cool as saying, oh, I'm sorry, none of these laws apply to me. You know? And that's very irresponsible of people to teach or to say that, you know, and circumvent the government. I interviewed Brother Taj. Respect Brother Taj, talk to him every now and then. He was on this Moors in America podcast I have. I interviewed him and I asked him, like, is there anything that you want to share before we close? And he advised people to come into the temple. And I didn't ask him to say that. I had no idea he was going to say that. I can't make Taj say anything. I just asked him. And he said that because, like, you know, he would never come against the prophet and he would never come against the temple. He knows that's our government. Okay? And I'm not putting words into his mouth or anyone else's mouth. I mean, you could ask him that yourself, you know? But, like, you know, the reason why he advised people to come in, he also said to come in with your eyes open, you know, so that you can come in and be ready to move. Like, I'm not going into the temple and just, like, people are going to be in there not doing anything, right? We're moving as a unit in Columbus. We're not playing games. So if there's people who's not taking this serious, you know, they're gonna have to move on somewhere. You know, they're gonna get eaten alive because we're not here to play with this, right? If people don't take this seriously, it will eat them up. Okay, this is not to be played with, and it can't be circumvented. And that's why, like, you know, like in New Orleans, trust me, there was some brothers who knew and some sisters that knew that they were Washita Moors or just Moors in general, and it did nothing for them, man. They was treated like refugees, called refugees. They were literally killing them. They literally were blocking off the bridges so they couldn't get out of there, right? And it was, you know, terrible situation. So knowing it is not good enough. Being of the blood is not good enough. Having your government, moving with your government, having your you know, government represent you, that's what has to be done. It can't be left alone, okay? There's no reason on earth George Bush should have been able to say, nah, they can't get the supplies that they desperately need. You know, but he could do that because even if the ones who knew that they were Moors, they still fell up under Negro, all right? And guess who speaks for the Negro, okay? So yes, the governor speaks for you, the mayor speaks for you, the president speaks for you, you know, like just, you know, some regular, you know, European dude who act like authority figure, he speaks for you because we're still up under that status. We have to move within our own government. You can't be operating outside of it. If you are, we're playing games, man. And that's real. Like, I'm not making that up. All this stuff really happened in recent history. You can look that up, okay? They had the knowledge and it didn't save them. That's not good enough. The bloodline and the knowledge, okay? All right, if anything, Bush should have been speaking with the leadership, And the leadership's like, no, you can't block these supplies to our Moors. And I'm gonna negotiate with Cuba directly. You don't speak for us. You know what I'm saying? So like, if you can't move by yourself, we have to move as a nation. That's where the power is. And that's where a lot of the problems are too. You know, Black Lives Matters and all this stuff, man. We can't keep doing the same thing. You know, we have to move as a collective, as a nation. All right. And then for anybody, like, if you've been studying this stuff for a long time and that was your first time hearing about the government structure, like, you know, get at us, listen in, learn, join. Because I'm telling you, I'm not saying this to belittle anyone. I'm one of them who was on this for years and didn't even know how our government structure ran. You know, learned this recently, like just like 2-3 years ago. So I'm definitely not trying to talk down to anyone. You feel me? Like, I didn't know this. All right. And I found out a bit about this probably before most people, you know, this on the call. Okay. So that's not to down anyone. Nobody's supposed to already be knowing this. They're not teaching this in school. They're not trying to empower you. All right. So I hope that brother's still on the call, but like, you know, that we can't get around it, man. And yes, the president
I'm still here. I'm listening.
Still speaks for you. He spoke for the Moors in New Orleans. They had the bloodline. They're not less than us. And trust me, some of them knew about it. You know, even back then, like Katrina, what was that, like 2004? They was on it. They had the bloodline and the knowledge, and it didn't save them. Okay? They still talked about us like we were some slaves. They denied our aid like we some slaves, spoke for us, you know, and then called us refugees. Like, wow. Come on, man. That's insane. All right? So we have to move as a collective. I'm very glad you asked that though. Like, people that are listening to this, please, like, see the logic in that. Okay? Them having the bloodline and the knowledge was not good enough then, and it's not good enough now. We have to move within our government. We should not try to, you know, circumvent that or act like it doesn't exist. We have to respect it. We have to come in and respect it. Like the brother was mentioning too, he said, like, with the government, it's for us. It's supposed to be for us and by us. So we have to respect it. We have to come into it and move as a collective so that it carries the weight that it should properly. Okay. And if anything's not clear, just let me know. But you know, I just think, you know, that's, yeah, I hope everybody understands. We can't leave it around. So, man, there's no reason to play around, man. It's time. I mean, it's overdue, but it's also time. Everything's right on time. Allah's the best knower. We're right on time. Some of these things that are happening, they're just gonna make more people wake up and be ready to get on board. Okay? Because there's no time to play. All right. So yeah, if anybody has any other questions though, feel free to speak up. Feel free to ask. I'm gonna go ahead and yield the floor. Any questions in general or anything, feel free to speak up.
So this is the dude on Instagram that had a message about the Social Security card. So what do you feel? Because you had a question, or you had said earlier, you said that we don't have to jump through hoops to do that, to become a Moor or whatever. That's what you had said. Being the fact that, like, those people that are trying to transition into the Moorish lifestyle, into their heritage, what do they do when a job or such and such has denied them because they don't have a Social Security card, because they done away with those things, or identification card, or a driver license, which isn't needed unless you are utilizing it as commerce. So
that's questionable. Like the first one about the Social Security card, I'm not an expert on that, so I can't really advise. I know that there are people, you know, who work without one. There's something else, not an employee identification number, but there's something else that you can get instead, right? So I can't really advise on that. But as far as like the driver's license, you know, look, everyone does have the right to travel, but you got to like be real about that. The Constitution was written in the 1700s, and for the right to travel, they're talking about people who's traveling on foot and horseback, and the only people who are truly living like that and still traveling like that, or maneuvering, or however we want to call it, like that, are the Amish, and other communities like that. And that's
So would
it.
you
And
so
so the
you're
right to
saying that
travel
driving a
then
vehicle is
refers
not
to
traveling?
your state constitution, and every state constitution or state laws, they're going to have different laws regulating traffic. And then we are not a lawless people. We are law abiders because we are the creators of law. We are the givers of law. I'm a giver of law. We're the creators of civilization. So we're not here to live in a lawless civilization, because we're going to have to regulate these things too. It's like people who are driving 18-wheelers can't just be out here just doing their thing. They need to prove that they can drive, and they need to have the license. And if we feel like things need to change, maybe be less stringent or something like that, we need to do the process within our society, right? So that we still have things set up in an orderly way. Okay, but we're not just going to do away with everything and then no, because it's regulated at the state level. The right to travel, yeah, that appealed to people just then. Everybody, yeah, because you don't, horses, you could get out the way, but a car is different. So it's regulated by the state level. And yes, the state's going to regulate traffic. And so, hey, people can argue right to travel if they have time like that. And you want to do that, you can get by if you really know what you're talking about, right? And then if you're not dealing with like some homicidal like race soldier, right? Because they just looking for a reason to to pop off. So if you want to do that, you can do that. That's within your rights. But like being real about the right to travel thing, that was about people on horseback and on foot. And the travel is regulated at the state level, not for evil reasons. Like we say, government is supposed to be of and from the people. Now, I'm not saying that there are people in positions in government that abuse these things, right? We're not saying that. But even the ones who abuse it, they have to set up programs that are for the people, right? And they have a practical purpose. And so the travel regulation has a practical purpose that we can all see and understand that, yeah, we have some rules. Yeah, we should have some speed limits. Yeah, people shouldn't be driving through my neighborhood, my little children out playing fast. Now they're going to go 25 or less. Yeah, this dude needs to have a license because he's driving trucks or driving cars. He need to be able to prove that he could drive. Somebody like 80 years old and their vision's failing them, they need to go back and take that vision test to prove that they can drive. They're not being realistic about their capabilities anymore, right? So we're going to test you, right? And so like this, it's not all bad. It's not. But if we want to take that mentality that it is all bad, we have to be honest about where we're working from. Are we operating from the lower self? Are we trying to get out of something? Are we just being real? Like, I don't want them controlling me. They controlling me. Like, I have a driver's license. I have my L on it. It's not a big deal. It doesn't make my life harder. It's not controlling me. I don't feel like I'm a slave because I have a driver's license. But if it makes you feel like that, maybe, like people shouldn't have it. But like, I'm just being real. It makes my life easier. You know what I'm saying?
So you still obtain your license and your nationality card. So how would that work if you just say going in?
Show anybody our nationality card. That's for us internally. Maybe in the future that would morph into something else, right? Possibly it should. Everything should morph because eventually we to govern ourselves completely. But like, at this point in time, a nationality card is just for us within our society to identify ourselves to each other.
So if you were looking for work and somebody denied you because you didn't have, like I said earlier, you didn't have a social security card or a license, how would you go about?
All right, this is what I would do. I would be real about it. Like, does having a social security card really like ruin your life or make it harder? Because if it does, then, figure out another way to do it. But it made my life easier. It's like, come on. I mean, I had it. I didn't have any say in that. My parents did that for me, right? I don't know your situation, but like, I was born here in Ohio. So like, boom, I had it already. It was already done. Just like I already had a birth certificate. Like, I didn't have the choice in that. You know what I'm saying? And like, I don't know, like if you had a Social Security and you rescinded it or something, like I don't know what your situation is, but like most of us already had these instruments anyway. And so it's like, why are you doing away with it? Like, what's the real reason behind that? Like, is it making life harder? Is that like what other people are saying?
What is the process of proclaiming your nationality when you are no longer that individual? So just say your name is Lloyd Douglas.
If you're no longer that individual, though, that's the straw man argument. That has nothing to do with us. That's coming from actually the redemption manuals. That has nothing to do with us. This is stuff the Europeans were putting out since the 60s. They were striking out against the government. We're not anti-government. We're the creators of government. They're striking out against the government. They were fighting for power with each other. That has nothing to do with us. Some Moors adopted those different principles and tried to teach it because they thought they could get some remedy from it. And they had plenty of time to do it, and they don't really have nothing to show. They've been trying to work that stuff since the 70s. We're going to have to shut things down. It's starting to get late. But they've been working that stuff for like 30, 40 years, and it hasn't worked. So I say, nah, I'm not wasting any time doing that because it didn't work. And that's no disrespect to people, you know, but no. If you doing something, not you, but, you know, in general, if you're doing something for 30, 40 years and you're not successful, I'm not copying you. You know, my mentor, he was a millionaire, bro. Like, that's who I'm looking at. Who's successful? The prophet in this day and time would be a millionaire. They had grocery stores. They were, you know, producing their own food. They had the schools and, you know, he was getting it done. So that's who I'm following, the prophet. No, I'm not following anyone else. The prophet. This is the Moorish Science Temple of America. We keep the prophet out front. The prophet was successful. He was getting it done. We can do it too. His life was an example for us. And that's what we do. So that's why I'm saying, like, I'm shutting all that down because those are doctrines coming from other places. And all that stuff you were saying, man, those people, they've been trying to work it for decades. And they not growing their own food. They're not doing it. I'm not trying to be like that. You know, I'm not trying to pass this burden down to my children and grandchildren. Nah, we ending it here. So we follow the prophet, bro. And that's, I mean, if you want to come in and learn the prophet, cool. But like, we're not going to really give too much time to covering this stuff because it takes away like from the lesson. Like that, this stuff don't work, bro. It don't work. Nobody's successful that's doing it. They not growing their own food. They not booming. They're not prosperous, bro. Why would I do that? And so for all the people that gave their information, their email and phone number, we'll contact you. We'll send you the registration so that you can join the temple. If there's nothing near you, yeah, you can join with us. You can listen in on the Zoom calls. We do it every Friday and Sunday at 7. But yeah, you know, I mean, like, I'm not telling anybody what to do, but I would advise you to stay away from that stuff. Look it up. If you really want to know something, look it up, see how long they've been on it. And then ask yourself, what do they have? How many towns do they have? Are they policing themselves? Oh, they have their own mayor.
That's where the confusion comes up.
They don't.
That's where the confusion comes up. What I was saying earlier, how it's really confusing and frustrating because it's like these people have us jumping through hoops because these same people, like you said, you respect Taj being the Grand Sheikh. These same people work directly with like people such as Taj, Tariq, or yourself, or other people of higher status. So that's where the confusion comes up because I'm looking at these websites and I'm looking at these like for example, House of Reawakening Minds. I'm finding most of this information that they're standing for that you're denying. So it's like, at what point is there a bridge between the two of you and this other group? Because I thought Moors collectively we were all together. That's what I'm saying. I'm
about results. I'm not about trying to be cool with, you know, just like groups and all this stuff. I'm about results. What gets results? People have been doing it for decades, brother. What do they have to show for it? The only reason the temple's not at that place is because the people haven't been in it. The temple's been empty. They just been alive. They had a couple people in there for the, you know, past decades so that we can come in and it didn't disappear. The information's still here, but they were empty. All right. And so, you know, I mean, I don't know what else to tell you except to look at to see, you know, what they've accomplished. And if that's what works with you, it's fine. I'm not like trying to recruit people because like you have to do what works for you. I didn't, you know, I've been on this for years, and I finally came into the temple and I found out the structure and things that nobody else was teaching. So it's like, why nobody was teaching this? I don't know, but I'm not gonna like rack my head over that stuff. Who cares? Let's get it moving. We know what to do. You know, we have to move as a unit. We have a government. We're moving within that structure. We teach that. If you want to listen and learn about the government structure, just join in with the classes and we'll cover that stuff. You know, but like I can't really go any more on this because we like way over time. We have to keep it orderly and we're like way over time. So I'm gonna go ahead and announce without further ado, we're going into the closing of the meeting. Brother Jackson Bay, would you please read the additional laws?
Praise Allah. Additional laws for the Moorish Americans by the Prophet Noble Jew Ali. Act 1, Grand Sheiks and governors and heads of all temples, all business. Each said temple must be approved by the Prophet Noble Jew Ali. Before acting upon by any member, let it be finance, property, or any line of life that will cause the member to sacrifice finance, etc., that will cause the support of any group of members. Any former officer that violates these laws is subject to be removed from his office under heavy restrictions, etc., by the Prophet or the Grand Sheikh. Act 2, all members are to attend their added meetings and their public meetings promptly. If a member is found standing around on his meeting period, shall be fined 50 cents on the first case, and on the second will be fined $1, which will go on your emergency fund. If member is working, his monthly dues must be paid, and if he has money in the bank, he must subscribe for as much as he is able to the Moorish uplifting fund, because it takes finance to uplift the nation. Act 3, it is the lawful and divine duty of every good member, if he is able to finance, to aid me in saving the nation, and if he does not, he is an enemy to the cause of uplifting his own people, and justice must catch you. Let it be he or she, according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, as I have the power invested in my hands, and I have to enforce the law in order to save the nation. Act 4, all members, while up making public speeches must not use any assertion against the American flag or speak radically against the church or any members of any organized group, because we are to teach love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Act 5, all members must promptly attend their meetings and send their children to Sunday school, and the teacher must confirm himself to the questionnaire, and let every member exercise his 5 senses who is able to do so, because out of your Sunday school comes the guidance of the nation. Act 6, with us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Jew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7, all members must promptly attend their meetings and become part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Jew Ali, through the guidance of his father God Allah. Islam, Islam, Islamism.
Islamism. All right. Thank you, Brother Jackson Bay. And before Brother Cole Bay reads the writs, I just want to say, Brother Wes, just contact me on the side and we could build further. Any questions you have, we could build on that. Within this structure, like we try our best to keep the meetings confined to an hour to an hour and a half. You know, we want to keep it timely, and like this is precious time because we're teaching and learning about our society, our government, our laws, and they don't teach this anywhere else. You know, they're not teaching it in the streets. Like we definitely don't get it in school. So it's very important that we, you know, stick to that and that we teach it, okay? Because this is the only place we get it. And so, but like on the side, we could build. And anyone else too, you have other questions too, we could build on the side. But like within this week, we have to teach this because like there's nowhere else we're gonna get it. And we have to know this inside and out. All right. So all right, in Islam, Brother Kobe, will you please read the writs?
Islam, I rise and give praise to our Father God Allah. I give rise and praise to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and I give rise and praise to all Muslims that are listening and on this Sunday. To be proclaimed at every meeting. Islam, I am glad to know I have a few faithful Moors among you all and desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There's a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claimed that I was a joke and unreal. But now, since they found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me, so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds, the ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finances. I need it badly. Never before have I needed finances so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through the jealousy because of the fame and nobility. The nations of the world would not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam, this is the instructions from your prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Be faithful unto your forefather divine and national creed that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is on now. But the weak can comprehend it not. The end of times is drawing near, so says Allah to the divine prophet, I knew Noble Drew Ali. And that is why many hearts have turned into stone. Many have eyes to see, but cannot see, ears to hear, but cannot hear. At least they will be confined of their sins. These are the trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid and cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temple. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good works. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Prophet warns all Muslims to be read at every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical speeches while at work and in their homes and on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards with Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. When these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members that hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their rewards from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet, Noble Drew Ali. And the prophet is not right. The temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their best part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace. Noble to Ali. Islam, 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 Ism.
Islamism. All right. Thank you, Brother Kobe. I want to thank you all for coming on the call. I want to thank you for the questions that you asked, because I think like it brings about an enlightening conversation so they can, they can teach us all. And please don't ever shy away from asking questions. All right. Even if we, aren't able to answer, we can get the answers. Okay. Someone from amongst us will have the answers, and that's how we learn. So I want to thank everybody. I want to thank all the good Moors, all the ills and bays of Mission 30. We building something strong here. I'm loving it. Feeling like, we doing big things. So I love it. Allah is wonderful. See a hand up. Brother Strickland, feel free to speak. The floor is yours.
Peace, my brother. We're out here in California. We just want to say we are grateful and blessed, truly blessed. I've been given this message from you and the family. We appreciate you having us on.
Islam, brother. Islam. Thank you for joining us. All right. Thank you for joining us. So, everyone has sent their email. We'll go ahead and send you an email later with the registration form, information for joining. Also, those slides that we had up for the census. And we're going to be doing this again Friday at 7. So it's every Friday and Sunday at 7. So save this information and feel free to join the calls with us. We're going into the closing. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. If you would like to join us in prayer, please stand for the closing prayer. We just ask that everybody stands up straight if you're able to. And you're going to have your feet on the square. So your feet are going to be at a 45-degree angle, heels together like a V shape. Stand up straight. Hold your arms up perpendicular. Hold 2 fingers up on the right and 5 on the left. And you do not need to repeat after me. Just face the east. Allah, bind our hearts and minds back to our ancient forefathers, divine creative principles. We ask this in thy holy name in the 7 Elohim. Amen. All right. Want to thank you all again. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Peace and love, Moors.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Moors.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Peace.